Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to take you through a bit of a guided mediumship development class today. Today, we're focusing on mediumship. There are a lot of you who have done the class before, and that was focused just on psychic information. The difference between something that's perceived as psychic. Hang on, let me just make sure everybody's in mute. The difference between, okay. So there are people who are psychic, which means that they can sense things within their environment, perhaps some future stuff, but cannot or struggle to, not cannot, because everybody can channel spirit because you are spirit. There is no difference. But there are people who focus a lot of their psychic abilities on the here and now, on this world. There are those who do both. So you'll be able to channel and connect to spirit, whether you recognize it or not. And you'll find that within the next 2 hours, you'll actually notice that you've connected to spirit multiple times. You just haven't understood that that's what it was. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, mediumship and connecting to spirit and receiving information that is you are able to channel down and write down and articulate. The biggest thing, I guess, for anybody who's learning to channel is learning to trust their abilities. There are so many people that sense that they have this ability to connect to spirit, but there's very little validation. And so you're not quite sure. And you're not quite sure because the information that you receive as a psychic is translated, it's energy that's translated by your own brain. And because it is a translation by your own brain, it just feels like a thought. It feels like any other thought, like I should probably go put my shoes on or I'm running late. It feels as gentle and as effortless as a thought. And so because it comes to you in the sound of your own voice, validation is one of those things that's kind of difficult. Really, the only way to gain momentum and gain trust in your own abilities is to be able to read for someone else. And when you read for someone else, you just trust that the thought you're thinking about that person is right. And you'll verbalize it. And then you wait for that validation. You'll say, your father has passed and he's in his 50s. Is that correct? And that person will say yes. And you'll know that in that moment, you've got that correct. Then you'll ask a little bit more information. And I think that's very important to establish that you've established that connection with that person. So when you're reading for someone else, and we're talking about someone else, and a lot of the time we'll be talking about connecting for someone else, but I will relate it back to connecting for yourself as well. When you're reading for someone else, it's important that you establish with both of you that you have made a correct connection, an accurate connection. And the way to do that is ask them questions. Is this correct? Yes. Excellent. Next question. Is this correct? Yes. There are some people who are more difficult to read than others. And it is important in that time, if you are sitting down. Now, some of you actually do this as work. Some of you that are on here do this as just something you enjoy. You don't necessarily get paid for it. And some of you are sort of like, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not quite sure. So those of you that do it for work, it's kind of scary, isn't it? And I know a lot of you will say to me, Addie, today I wasn't psychic at all. No, today you were just as psychic as yesterday. However, you found someone who was a little bit more difficult to connect to, and you received a lot of no's, and that's hurt you, that's affected you. And then you start doubting yourself and your abilities, and you walk off going, I wasn't psychic today. You are just as psychic every day as every other day. It is you and your perception of you that changes. When you are reading for somebody who's difficult to connect to, often people will say to me, Addie, I want to know about my relationship. That's a very big one for readings. The two most common things are, I want to connect to a past loved one. And the other one is, what's happening with my relationship? That question is a very difficult question. That question is a difficult question for the both of the person who's reading and the person who's receiving the reading, because that person who's asking the question is so afraid of the answer. And the reason they're afraid of the answer 99% of the time is because they already know it. They're afraid of it. They don't trust that what's happening is happening for them. They think that this is a fate worse than death. And so they hang on to that so dearly because they're afraid that you're going to tell them what they already know. That is most of the time the kind of reading when I'm reading for relationships. Most of the time is that person is so afraid to hear that this relationship isn't going to go ahead. That's usually what prompts people to book a reading, that they just hang on to that. So I'll ask validating things like, were you married once before? I'll hear a no. I'll go, okay. Then I'll ask something else. I'll hear another no. I know as soon as, well, generally I'll know with the first no that they're not letting me in. But as soon as I hear a second no, I go, all right, I'm just going to roll the dice and ask you a third one. And then I'll bring something else up. And if I hear 3 no's in a row, I know that for whatever reason, I'm not picking up their information. I'm all scrambled. They're all scrambled. They're fearful. And I need to leave that question alone and find something else to ease them, to gain their trust. So let's get into a few, I want to talk about the different clairs. Now, I know that there's many of you that did my previous class that you'll already have discussed this, but there are some new people on here that we need to go through these. The first one is clairvoyance. Now, there are 5 clairs. The first one is clairvoyance, and that means clear sight, something that you see in your mind's eye as an imagination. It will look like this. When you're channeling a loved one, somebody sat and they said, I would like to connect to my grandmother. You will, for the most part, receive an image in your mind. Hang on, somebody's trying to come in. Okay. You'll receive an image in your mind. And I want to explain to you exactly what that image usually looks like. I want all of you now, when I say, in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine your mother or a female family member. It doesn't really matter who it is. Now, as you, in your mind's eye, see that person, you'll notice one of 2 things. They're either standing up close in your mind's eye, and you can see the details of their face, and then you can't see the details of their body, or they're standing further away. You can see their body, you can see their shape, you can see their hair, but you can't see the details of their face. That is generally what happens. So when somebody says to me, I'd like to connect to my father, most of the time I see them at a distance, and most people that I speak to in relation to this sort of psychic connection, as in what people look like, will tell me the same thing. I see them from a distance, and I can see the outside shape of their body. I can see their hair length, the color, but I can't see the details of their face. Then to see the details of their face, literally the image will change from their whole body, and you'll zoom in and you can be able to see the details of their face, but you can't see all of those details at once. You can essentially ask spirit to show you anything. You can ask spirit, if the initial vision is their full body, you can then just think in your mind, because the communication is mental telepathy, you can then just think in your mind, what does their face look like? And that image should change. You won't see it as clear as obviously a photo. And the interesting thing is, when I do a reading and I describe what somebody looks like, I'll verbalize all the things, and that other person will say, yes, oh my gosh, that is exactly them. Oh my gosh, you've described them amazingly. And I have this image of what this person looks like. And then I'll see a photo. And it's interesting because what the image of what they look like is not exactly as it is in the photo. But in the description of what I've said, it matches the description of if I were to describe that image. And that is true also for other things. When you describe things like somebody's house, somebody's room, you'll go through, and in your mind's eye, you may not see the room because it is a translation. You must understand that this information is being translated by your brain. And so your brain will capture all the relevant details and it will then just spit it out at you. And your job is to say that the room is, there's a bed to the left and a chest of drawers which are brown, you know, and it'll give you all sorts of details and you will be describing it perfectly. And that person will say, oh my gosh, yes, that's exactly what that room looks like. But then if they were to show you an image of the room, you'll go, that is not the image at all I had in my mind's eye. However, because it is a translation, all the verbal things that you verbalized were accurate. Does anybody have any questions about that? I don't know whether that is vague. My description of that is vague. Does anyone have any questions or even any realizations or experiences they've had? If you do, press the unmute button and go ahead and just share something with us. Excellent. What a talkative bunch we have today. All right. So that is clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is also the most predominant clair when you are first beginning. Because we are human and we have this perception of I must see everything, we try and focus on visually seeing the answer. As you get better at channeling, as you get better at connecting, you will notice that the clairvoyance component of it, unless you need it for descriptive purposes, isn't working as much. What you'll notice is you will receive a clear knowing. That's called claircognizance. You will just know stuff. It will just enter your brain without it needing to have a visual to it. And that was very, very true for me. When I first started, everything was visual and I felt like I was playing charades with spirit. Eventually, I couldn't really see them unless it was necessary to describe something visually. Then I just knew things. Okay, so the next clair is clairaudience, and that is hearing. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to hear an external sound like it's coming from the next room. You can sort of, in your mind's eye, hear, feels like somebody is saying something. You can hear it. You know that you're hearing it in your mind, in your brain, but you're not, you know that the person next to you wouldn't have heard that. That doesn't mean that you can't hear something shouted out from the next room or whispered, but it is not so common. It actually takes spirit a lot of energy to do that. So it's just much easier to send that information to your brain. The clairaudience component of that for me usually only comes with names. So I will hear quite loudly shouted in my mind's eye somebody's name. And that is generally how people will hear that. Or you'll be able to hear a train whistle. It's whatever's relevant for the reading at the time. The other thing I want you to remember is when you will shift from different clairs each time, but it's all happening in your mind's eye. It's all happening in your mind. Very rarely will there be an instance where when you're reading, will you hear or see, or it just doesn't happen. It just takes so much energy, not just from spirit. It also takes a lot of energy, focus, and concentration from you as well. So everything you're experiencing as a psychic is all a translation with your energy, with your own energy. So there has been energy projected to you. You have grabbed that information with your energy, with your aura, with your soul. It doesn't really matter how you've grabbed it or how you want to describe it. and then you've sent that energy back to yourself and you've translated it in your mind. So clairaudience is clear hearing. Clairalience, which is smell, it is a psychic smell. You know that there's no fire in the house, but you can smell it. You can smell scotch, or you can smell beer. The most common one people will talk about is you can smell cigarette smoke, especially for smokers. If you have a loved one that was a heavy smoker, or you associated them in some way with a particular smell, they will often make you feel like you can smell them. My mother's father and my mother's mother, so my grandparents, but from my mother's side, their house had a particular smell. And often I will walk into my mum's house and I will smell that smell from their house. And I'll say, Mum, your parents are here. And usually there's not always something further you need to communicate. When I walk into my mother's house, and it's usually when she's having a hard time, if she's having a good time, I'll walk in and it'll just be like, hi, Mum, how are you? If she's having a hard time, I'll open that door, I'll smell that familiar smell of what my grandparents' house smelled like, and I'll say, your mum's here or your dad's here. And that's it. There's not always something further to add. It's just their way of saying to me, hey, can you just let her know that we're here? And it's because she's having a hard time. And in that moment, she feels supported, loved, acknowledged. All right, so the next one, the clairalience, the psychic smell, and I think a lot of people feel this way, it often feels real. That's the one in my mind. It kind of is like, can you smell that? Can you smell that? And no, most people say, no, I can't smell. What are you talking about, Eddie? I can't smell anything. So that one actually really does feel quite real. The clairgustance, which is taste. Taste, for me, I don't get that one. It's sort of like you can taste, I don't know, generally alcohol, things that are quite strong. I lie. I have had it a few times, but one time I could, and excuse the graphics I'm about to tell you, I could taste a vomit. And that was just spirit letting me know, whatever was happening in that moment, it also involves somebody vomiting. And spirit, they don't censor anything. You will get all sorts of information. You will get sometimes some of the information. So say, for example, somebody's lost a partner. Men do this a lot. They sometimes will be graphic about something sexual. And your job in that moment is, listen, I'm apologizing for what I'm about to say, but they're making this sexual comment. And they're not making it so that the other person can be shocked and go, oh my gosh, this was a terrible thing. They're saying it generally, I found that it's a joke, because it was something that was part of their relationship. Your job is not to censor the message. Your job is to say, hey, so he's just made a joke about whatever, your big boobs. Generally they do that sort of thing. And in that moment, you've delivered the message correctly, because that person laughs and they'll say, oh, so typical that he would say that. I can't believe it. And it's funny. And in that moment, they feel that love, that connection, and they feel that was a validating point, because he would always talk about my big boobs. So spirit, I'm telling you now, they don't censor themselves at all. They don't have the restrictions that we put on ourselves. And that's something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. Okay, next one is, the next clair I want to talk about is claircognizance, and that is a knowing. That is the most developed clair. And it's the clair of just, it feels like I've just always known this information. I'm in the presence of Jennifer, and I just know this about Jennifer, just like I know what I had for breakfast, just like I know I have 2 sons and a husband. I just know this information. And as you practice and as you develop, you get that. I never remember the names. I actually literally had to like Google them. What are the 5 or 6 clairs? What are the clairs? I know them as information, but I never know it as the actual name. So this was claircognizance, which is clear knowing, just a knowing. I just know this. The other thing I wanted to add here as well, the clairsentience, which is the feeling, is also known as empathy. We in the spiritual community really go on about being an empath. I'm an empath. I suffer because I'm an empath. Please, if you find yourself doing that, stop. You are never a victim to your psychic gifts. It is never something that is inflicted upon you. It is never something that is put on you so that you can suffer in any way. And if ever you've picked up somebody's feeling and it feels very real for you, I want you to know that it has actually triggered some feelings that are your own. So say you've walked into a room and there's this person who's really mad. They're pretending like they're not mad. They're pretending they're just walking around. Hi, how are you? Everything's great. But you get really angry and you think to yourself, why am I angry? I'm in a social environment. I shouldn't be angry. In that moment, recognize you have tuned into somebody's feelings. You have empathically received with your energy their feeling of anger. You've sent that energy back to yourself. You've translated it in your mind and you feel angry. Your job is to recognize that this feeling is not your own. If you then walk away from that person, walk away from that scenario, and you continue to feel angry, you have not walked away with their feeling. You have walked away with your own feeling. What does that mean? It means that their anger has triggered something that makes you angry about you and your life. It has triggered that feeling. It has lovingly triggered that feeling. It is on purpose that you were in the vicinity of that person who was mad. It was on purpose. Spirit makes no accidents. It was on purpose that you've walked away with that angry feeling. It was there so that, let me just make sure, because I've got a couple of notifications. It's so much easier on the laptop for some things and not so much easier for others. You have walked away with their feelings of anger, with your own feelings of anger, because you are asked to address the things that you are ignoring that are making you angry. Empaths are just psychics who heavily rely on that empathic sense. You have all the other senses available to you. However, you are heavily relying on the emotional component of your psychic abilities. You are probably receiving lots of information from all the other clairs. However, this is the one that stands out to you the most because you have so much hidden, unhealed things and traumas that you go out there, it triggers your own stuff and you walk away with it because it is an invitation to heal whatever it is that's going on for you. Excuse me. Spirit does this on purpose. Your guides do this on purpose. Your higher mind does this on purpose. Why? Because it is a disconnection from them. The more you have unhealed, the more that hurts. It is a disconnection from them. You have a lowered frequency or vibration, which we will get into. You have a lowered frequency or vibration in relation to different topics of your life, which you refuse to address because they're scary. You're not refusing to address it because, I don't know, you're a bad person or you like to put your head under the covers and ignore things. You're refusing to address it because you are afraid. And they're saying, well, if you're triggered and it's there in your face, we've prompted, or your higher mind's prompted the healing. So when you feel somebody else's feeling, whether it's anger, whether it's anxiety, whatever it is, you're in the vicinity of somebody, they're feeling anxious, You've picked up that feeling. You've walked away with that feeling. That's your feeling. Stop for that moment and ask yourself, what about my life makes me anxious? What about my life is that feeling of anger? What about me is going on in my life that I've ignored, that I'm afraid to look at? And then address that. It is an invitation. It's a very loving invitation, and spirit will use this all the time because it knows that once you address this, once you recognize it, once you identify it, once you heal it, you would just be so much more free. Okay. The next thing I wanted to add was the idea that negative belief systems, beliefs that are negative, are actually a very, very important component of the human experience. We are light beings. We are souls that are all love and all high vibrations. Our true, genuine core essence of who we are is just love, light, and everything that's beautiful. We condense our energy and focus it into this human experience, this earth environment, and we choose our parents specifically, and our parents choose us. It is an agreement, and we say, I want you, and I want you, and I want these siblings, because together, as I grow up within that family dynamics, I will experience certain things that will generate a particular life path, a particular trajectory. It will also generate negative belief systems. Negative belief systems are so important because that is the complete opposite of what you truly are. And to have a human experience, we need to experience all ranges of emotions and all feelings. Otherwise, we might as well just stay in spirit and be love and light and namaste all day. So the fact that we've come here and we've chosen our parents specifically, and we've chosen our siblings specifically, they have, with their own personalities, created a certain version of us through the interactions that we've had. And we create negative belief systems. I want you to understand that the component of a negative belief system is so important to the human experience that your soul wants to hang on to it as long as possible so that you can extract the most meaning and the most experience out of it. Why am I talking about this? Because we were just talking about experiencing people's negative feelings and then walking away with them. And then I've got this anger that I refuse to address, and I refuse to address it because at the core of that is a fear. And the fear says, if I look at this, it will be like the worst thing in the whole wide world. If I address this fear, if I address this anxiety, if I look at the belief system behind it, it will be the worst thing ever. And I won't be able to recover, and it'll be just torturous, and the rest of my life will be horrible. The reason that occurs, the reason we don't want to look at negative belief systems is because a negative belief system kind of has its own, how do I put this as accurately as possible? Its own life force, if you will. It's all you, it's still a part of you. But a negative belief, because it is so anchored in the human experience, we don't actually want to get rid of it because it adds for a very, very rich, very versatile human experience. So when we are very, very close to identifying a negative experience, that negative experience will literally send off alarm bells because it doesn't want to be identified. It doesn't want to be released. And it'll send off alarm bells that'll sound like, do not look here. If you look here, you will not be able to handle it. This will be the worst thing you've ever done in your life. Looking at this negative belief or this fear is like the worst thing ever in the whole wide world. And you just, the closer you are to identifying a negative belief, the more afraid you will feel at looking at it, because that negative belief has its own life force, and it has its own life force so that it could add that versatility, that beautiful range of things that you experience being human. When you walk away with somebody else's feelings, and then you think to yourself, Addie said I should address them because they're actually my feelings. It's conjuring up and bringing up something of my own. And then you dare for a split second to ask yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of? Just know that in that moment, you will feel panic and absolute pure dread. It is a lie. Your negative belief systems are trying to trick you so that you don't identify them. Because once you identify them, once you identify a core belief system, you will release it. It has no power afterwards. The reason why in the spiritual community we are slowly getting access to this kind of information, it is because we are now at the, should we say, the beginning stages? I don't know where we are on the timeline. It's not the middle and it's not the end, but we are going through a spiritual awakening. I don't believe it's the beginning anymore. I feel like we're a little bit further than the beginning, but we're still not far from the absolute beginning. The reason we are gaining information like this now is because it is to aid us in this awakening process. There is cycles that go on. We are, as human beings, very, very unaware for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then as the years go on, as the cycle goes on, the people that populate the earth become more aware, more aware, more aware, until they are completely enlightened, and then they become physical beings on the earth, but are completely aware of their non-physical status as well. So the reason we are gaining information like this right now is so that we can begin understanding that there are things that are in play here that we as spirit, as we as souls have put in play here, that we are now beginning to release. And we're going to pass this on down to the next generation and the next and the next and the next, until we become like the Mayans and, you know, we become completely aware of who and what we are. So the next time you have an experience where somebody has triggered you empathically, and you walk away with a feeling that is your own, I ask yourself, what must I believe to be true for me to be feeling this way? And then when you feel those feelings of fear, identify them. Say, you know what, fear, I'm not going to let you stop me from looking at what the feeling, the belief is. And then once you identify the belief, it'll be funny because you'll notice yourself doing it all the time, and you'll catch yourself and you'll eventually stop yourself from doing it. That also leads me into the next part of what I wanted to talk about. And that is being your true unedited self. And you're going to say to me, Annie, what the heck does that have anything to do with channeling spirit? It has everything to do with channeling spirit. When you are lying to yourself, when you are ignoring parts of yourself, when you are not your true self, your vibration is lower. You are in a kind of clouded state of mind. You don't know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, your vibration is low. And when your vibration is low, it is a big feat to channel spirit, to change your frequency from this low frequency to get it to a high frequency to connect to spirit. The other thing is, spirit has to weed its way through all your negative belief systems and all the things you lie to yourself about in order for it to get a message. So by the time that message, which is a pure, loving, clear message, gets to you, it has gone through so many different alleyways that it is a distorted message. And when it is a distorted message, you get people doing readings saying things like, your dog didn't pass through to the light and it's stuck here on earth, and things like that. When you don't know who you are, and you don't know how beautiful and loving and infinite spirit is, by the time the message gets through to your brain, it is sifted through a whole heap of channels that are untrue, and the information comes out so skewed that it's actually completely wrong. Know yourself. Do not edit yourself when you are speaking to someone else. When you are speaking to someone else, our instinct is to be accepted. That is a very human instinct. And what do we do when we're standing in front of somebody that we know is judgmental and they ask us a question? We edit what we're going to say in order to gain their acceptance. But if you do that enough, you will have each person that you interact with know a different version of you. And you cannot keep up with your own lies because they're lies. So when somebody asks you, and this is a big one for me because I work as a psychic medium, and it's not a very welcome. Like, somebody would say to me, what do you do for a job? And I would lie. For the first couple of years, I'd say, I'm a singing teacher, which I used to be. I'm a singing teacher. And then I thought to myself, you're straight up lying. You're lying because you know that the other person's going to go, okay, you weirdo, and then want nothing to do with you. That was my assumption. And so now when somebody asks me, what do you do for work? I say, I'm a psychic medium. And it is not always received well, but it's the truth. It's the truth. And if it's not received well by 15 people, it will be received well by 1 or 2. And that doesn't mean you have to believe you. That just means I have no particular opinion about it, Addie, and I'm cool with you being you. Then you know that those are your people. If someone looks down on you for being anything, whatever, whether it's overweight or uneducated or whatever negative perception you have of yourself, be yourself. Tell them, I didn't go to school. Why I finished, 2 years before I was supposed to. That's you. And those that don't like it, that's got nothing to do with you. That's their own stuff. Those that are accepting of you, that can see you for who you are, they're your people. And when you constantly edit yourself to gain the approval of others, you will have around you a whole heap of people that aren't your people. And you're having a bad time and they're talking to a lie. Everybody does it. I want you to stop doing it. Do not edit yourself. Be yourself. Clear up your life. Clear up the people that are around you. By being yourself, you get a much more perfect version of the people that you need. You get a much more perfect life. Don't edit yourself, because editing yourself keeps you disconnected from being you and allowing you to be you, but it also keeps your vibration low and it doesn't allow you to connect to spirit. Okay. It is more important. I cannot stress the importance of being yourself. I will now start to talk about vibration and frequency. Vibration and frequency are translated by the human body as a physical emotion. When you feel happy or joyous, your vibration is high. And when your vibration is high, you are able to connect to the souls that are living in the 4th dimension onwards. Now, you can call it heaven, you can call it the other side, you can call it whatever. It's technically the 4th dimension. So those souls that are in the 4th dimension, they're all love, they're all happy, and they can connect to you because the connection is a lot easier when you're trying to tune into somebody that is close or the same vibration as you. It's like picking up the telephone and dialing the correct number. Lower vibrations feel like fear, anxiety, depression, confusion. Those are lower vibrations. Those lower vibrations are a completely different telephone number to the telephone number of spirit. In order for you, if you are in a depressed, difficult, lower vibrational state, in order for you to connect to spirit, you have to go through a bit of a process. to calm yourself down, to get yourself into a neutral state, and then from a neutral state into a much more elevated, higher state. You need to be the same vibration and frequency as spirit in order for them to be able to communicate to you. They will not drop to your level. They can, and they do sometimes, especially if you've been in a long-term depression. They will attempt to reach you in any which way. And sometimes you can actually receive information in a lower vibrational state, but it's not clear. It'll be just a one sentence, or it'll be just one word. It'll be just as much as they can quickly get out in that lower vibration in order for them to get back to that vibration that they're very accustomed to. So they won't leave you hanging ever, but the closer you are to their frequency, it's dialing into the same radio station. If their radio station is 100.2 and you're on the frequency of 97.7, well, no matter what you do, whether you stomp your feet, whether you cry, whether you get on your hands and knees and scream, why have you forsaken me? You cannot hear them. They are on a completely different frequency. They're on a much higher frequency. If you want to listen to that radio station, you need to tune into it. It is the same in life. It is the same in spirit. We will be doing an exercise in a moment where we'll be tuning into spirit, and I'll show you how to get into that higher vibration to hear them. But I want you to know that if you want to sit down and ask a question and you're having a bad time, the best thing you can do for yourself is go find something that alleviates that feeling of depression. You can do an exercise, you can go for a walk, anything that alleviates the feeling. Medication doesn't alleviate the feeling, and medication masks the feeling. The vibration still stays the same. So if you're depressed and you're on antidepressants, now I'm not saying you should or you should not be on antidepressants. In fact, I think a lot of people that are in a depressed state would benefit from antidepressants, but that's a different story altogether. When you are in a lower vibrational state and you are taking medication, it just doesn't allow you to, it disconnects you from your own feelings. The vibration still remains the same. So you actually need to do an exercise where you feel joy and where you feel love and where you feel something at least neutral, nothingness. If you can get to a neutral place, you can connect to spirit that way. Up until this point, please unmute yourself. We're all adults. I've just muted you so we don't have, like, I don't know, coughing and sneezing in the background. Unmute yourself and ask a question. I talk a lot. I talk fast. Is something unclear, or would you like to add an experience here? Anybody?
Can I ask a question?
You sure can.
Okay. I hear a lot about something called like a download. Is that? Can you explain what that is? Is that similar to like the knowing?
So a download is, I love the spiritual community. We come up with a label for everything. It just basically means a chunk of channeled information. So a download is just channeled information. If I've empathically picked up somebody's feeling, that is a download. If in my mind's eye, am channeling someone's loved one and they look like whatever, that is a download. It's just a piece of information, and it can come in any one of the clairs. That's all a download is. I think a lot of people, when we place labels on things, they lose their meaning and then they become this, I don't know, unattainable, magical thing. But it's all very attainable, and it is magical, but it's not magical. If you could mute yourself again, that would be awesome. Actually, I can do it from here. Awesome. Now, have anybody else got a question at all before we move on?
Yeah, I got one. So, hello. What about when you have a connection with someone who's still alive? Like you pick up your phone and they're calling you when you're about to call them, or you go to do something and the other person in the room has just finished doing it.
Okay. That's actually a very, very good question, Vanessa. So basically what happens is we're all spirit. So connecting to someone who's alive is the same as connecting to someone who's passed on or crossed over. You need to be in the same frequency as that person. So what happens is you are of whatever, say you're at the frequency of 100, if we're going to put a random number to it, right? The frequency of 100. And your friend who's calling you is also in the frequency of 100. And they're thinking about you, so they are projecting their thought to you. And because your frequencies are matching in that moment, you have picked up that information with your brain, translated it, and sent it to yourself and thought, oh, I wonder what Sally's doing. And then next thing you know, Sally's calling you on the phone. Because she's thinking about you, she's sending you her thoughts. You're the same frequency in that moment. If you were angry, let's put it this way. If you were the most enraged you have been in a long time, and Sally's calling you, you wouldn't have heard that message. You wouldn't have heard, I wonder what she's doing. I wonder how she is. You wouldn't have heard it. You need to be the same frequency. You've sent that information over. That person sent that information over, and you've grabbed it. Does anybody else have a question in or around that? Unmute
I have
yourself.
a quick question. I am just wondering, what about in a sleep state? Is a person's vibration different in a sleep state, or is it different for the individual?
Excellent question. So in the sleep state, what happens is your mind is off. So you are back to your original frequency. You are back to the highest frequency. You have no resistance because your brain has switched off. That is why, I'm glad you brought that up. That is why a lot of the time we will receive psychic information in that lucid sleep period as we're falling to sleep or as we're waking up. It feels like a dream, but it's actually information. Or you might hear something. Or during that sleep period in the middle of the night where you've just kind of woken up for 2 seconds, you've kind of heard something. Your brain is, it's not ever off, but it's kind of like not in the equation. It's in that sleep state, right? The brain shuts down. There've been tests that have been done on psychics when they're channeling, and the brain goes into, can't remember what the state was called, but the state when somebody is channeling is the equivalent of a monk doing a deep meditation. The brain goes into a meditative state when it is channeling, and there've been all sorts of tests done on the brain when people channel. So it's the same sort of thing when you're asleep. Your brain goes into into that state, and so spirit can send you something and you can perceive it because your brain's just been removed out of the equation, because our brain is the one that interferes. That's why I keep saying be your true authentic self, because when you're awake and you're alert, your brain's present. And so for you to release some of that resistance, some of that disconnect of you to spirit, that perceived disconnect, you're never actually disconnected. Be more you. Be truthful. Say yes when you mean yes, no when you mean no. Tell people that upset me. Just be yourself so you don't have that disconnect. Does anybody else have a question around that?
So is that like, could that be like our subconscious mind is like our storage center for all of that, and then it's our conscious mind that is like stopping us from, experiencing more of those psychic gifts? Or
Okay,
like what part does that subconscious brain play?
Okay, so essentially your subconscious mind, how do I explain this? I'm just thinking to myself, how deep into spirituality do we want to go? How deep down the rabbit hole do we want to go? We'll go deep. We're going in. Who's ready? So we perceive ourselves as a person who has a past, and our past is a fixed thing. So you're standing here and I'll say to you, hey, Jennifer, tell me about your past. And you'll say, oh, I was born like this and I did this. My parents were like this and da, 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 da. I'm going to tell you that that's actually not true. Your past is relevant to your presence. In other words, whatever experience you are going through currently, your brain will recall the background information that is relevant to your current experience. Now, I don't know if you can all hear what I've just said and how big that is. What it means is that your past, you have an infinite number of pasts with an infinite number of parents, with an infinite number of experiences. And what you remember and perceive as your past is what is relevant as context for your current present experience. I don't know that that's going to be able to sink in as much as I want it to. Your subconscious mind would be, I guess, the storage. It stores all the information that is relevant to your current time-space reality. Your conscious mind, the part that we think with all the time, is basically, think of it like this. We're driving through an experience, and it's I guess the front windscreen or what do you guys call it over in the States? The glass at the front of the car.
The windshield.
Windshield, thank you very much. So it's the windshield. And so you are just basically perceiving things, experiencing things, feeling things, breathing things in, tasting things. That is the front part of your mind. That is the conscious part of your mind. The subconscious part of your mind stores all the things that are relevant to retrieve whatever it is that you're experiencing right now. I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole. That's a completely different other topic. But I think all I've done really right now is confused you more. But I don't want to censor the information. I want, whenever somebody asks me a question, to be able to answer it honestly. This human experience is so much more vast than I think we have ever come to understand. And who you are as a soul is so much more powerful, so much more infinite, so much more in control, and so much more enlightened than you have any perception of. And I want you to know that everybody you read for, everybody you interact with, everybody you have any sort of even small or large interaction is there on purpose. Every last piece of mess in your house is there on purpose. It is a reflection of whatever experience you have chosen to experience in this moment. It is a reflection of the reality that you are trying to play out as a very conscious soul, however unconscious we feel in the moment. We are supposed to feel very human. This is supposed to feel very real. Think of it as a bit of a 3D reality. You know, we've started things like Facebook has now got like the metaverse, where you can put these glasses on and you step into a world. And if anybody's actually ever put on these 3D, I don't know, what are they called? It doesn't matter. But if anybody's put on those glasses and you step into this world, some of the details, some of the graphics can make you feel like, oh, I can see this. This feels very real. That is sort of akin to the experience that we're having. It is so much more detailed and on purpose and intricate than I think we have ever known before. There's no separation. I want you to think of it like this. You know, in the spiritual community, we throw around, we are one. We are one. What does that mean? It means that we are one soul looking at things from a very different perspective. So there are 17, including me, people in this room right now. But there aren't. There's just one, and that is Source. These 17 people are viewing the same experience from a different perspective. That's the truth. Everybody's viewing the same experience from a different perspective with different context. The same is true for your guides and for your loved ones. They are you viewing things from a different perspective. Often people will say to me when they're going through a hard time, where are my guides now? Where is God now? Vanessa's just asked about past lives. We'll get into that too. Where are my guides now? Where is God now? Where, I'm having this horrible time and I'm not getting a single solitary thing. Your guides are you. They're you from a different perspective. They're you at the top of the mountain, seeing the whole experience. They are you. What you want in this life, in this moment, your goals and your dreams, they're very on purpose. You want what you want because that's what your soul said was going to be a beneficial experience. And so when you are out of a relationship and you really, really want one, your guides want that too, because your guides are you from a different perspective. So when you're saying, where are my guides now? Where is God now? Right here, present, 100% present, completely immersed. And they all want, they being you from a different perspective, they all want what you want, because what you want is not accidental. What you want is connected to a theme that you've chosen during this lifetime. My job as a psychic medium, and your job as well, is to reconnect people to who they are. My job now with this next exercise we're about to do is release some of this resistance and connect to the information that is continuously flowing to you. There is nothing too big or too small that your guides won't be interested in. Something as small as, should I paint my nails black or yellow? They're interested in it. You know why? Because it's interesting to you, and they're you. They're you from a different perspective. I will also talk about past lives as well. There's no such thing as past lives, because we see past lives from the perspective of being a human being. There are parallel lives which are very closely connected to the life you're living. I won't get into it too much. There's no such thing as, we see things as a finite being, a being that has a beginning and an end. We're born and then we die. Well, that's not exactly true. There is no beginning and end. Everything just is. And think of it like this: the Big Bang. Big Bang happened. There was an explosion, an infinite explosion. In each fractal portion of that Big Bang is you. So that Big Bang was one entity, one soul, call it God, call it source, and then it fractaled itself into millions of different perspectives, all in the one moment. And you are one of those fractals. You are one of those perspectives. And the parallel version of you, or the past life version of you, is a version of you that's very, very closely connected to the version of you that is now, with similar themes, with similar wants, with similar goals. And that version of you, and I don't want to get too deep because I've gone really, really deep now. That version of you can send information to the current version of you, and you exchange information, psychic information, without really knowing it. Often you're channeling information. You won't always know its source. You won't know, did this come from my guides? Did this come from my grandpa? Did this come from my future self? Did this come from my past self? It doesn't really matter. What matters is the information is relevant for now. I won't go any further and deeper into that because literally it's a 5-hour course just on that. All right, now, one last thing before we get into the exercise. Crystals. Crystals are I've gone from really heavy into something light, like crystals. Crystals are a very useful tool in channeling because crystals have an awareness within them that they know that they are all things in all times and in all places. And so they can connect you to the time, place, and space that you need in order for you to collect the information that you're looking for. Different crystals have different awarenesses, but they are all aware that they are all things at all times in all places. So it's like being able to place a phone call to a particular space where the person who picks it up says, oh yeah, I can see clearly in this room and I can see that you've left your phone on the counter. It's kind of like that. The crystal has access to the time, space, reality that you need in order for you to get the information that you're looking for. I'll tell you the crystals that I recommend. The clear quartz, which is just one of these. And the clear quartz is just a magnifying crystal. It just magnifies the information. So it's sort of like, I've tuned in, where is my phone? And I can't quite see it, I can't quite hear it. Grab one of these and it kind of just magnifies the energy. Another good crystal for channeling is the tiger's eye. And these just the ones that I use. A blue kyanite. Well, this one will send you into outer space. Blue kyanite and a selenite. Selenite is the most, well, it might look like this for a lot of you, selenite. This one's just a little bit more clear. I tend to enjoy these two together and then the clear quartz, because that just magnifies these guys. For me, if you're struggling, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I've read for this person before, they're quite difficult, for some reason they're back. What do? I want to be clearer than I was last time. I just grab these two. I just put them next to me. I'll sit on them, put them on my lap, whatever. And I grab the clear quartz and it kind of just magnifies what these do and magnify what I do. So crystals are a good idea. Again, clear quartz, blue kyanite, spelt, how's it spelled? Kyanite. And this is a selenite crystal. You'll find that most psychics use the selenite. All right, now we're going to get into our exercise. This particular exercise is designed for you to really feel the power of who you are, the power of your spirit. You will feel powerful, yet in control. You'll feel loved, you'll feel safe, because you are all those things. You will feel very sure of yourself. I will never forget, one time I was trying to channel an alien. It's the truth. I don't edit myself anymore. I was trying to channel an alien because there are other beings in other time, space, realities, other planets. I wasn't very successful, but I did channel something that blew my mind, and I will never forget it as long as I live. And I would tell as many people as I can, and it may not make as much sense to you when I explain it. I was channeling and I was channeling and I was channeling. And then I connected to something, God, I don't know what it was. And all I heard in my head was, I am. But the feeling that came with it, it was so, this entity, and it might have just been source, it could have even been an alien, who cares, was so sure of itself, it virtually felt conceited. Like, I am so sure of myself. I know exactly who I am. And I am all powerful, all knowing, all loving. I am. And it was so sure of itself. The only way I could describe it was conceited. And what does that mean? You know, when somebody comes in and goes, I am so gorgeous right now. Look at my hair. I am just so gorgeous. And it's sort of like, okay, that's not something we talk about. Okay, good on you. But we kind of think of that person as kind of conceited. Okay, you're pretty sure of yourself. That's the sureness I felt. It was so beautiful and so powerful. And it reminded me, it informed me that I am not sure of myself enough, that I do not speak of all the things that are good about me enough. I don't say I'm really good at this enough. We have learned over the years to not talk about all the good things that are us. Are you good at singing? Oh, yeah, I'm okay. Say it. No, I'm freaking great. If you were to hear me sing, you might lose your socks, right? Or, are you good at dancing? Or whatever it is that you feel like you're good at. This spirit or this energy or whatever it was, if you had asked it, are you good at whatever, it would have said, I am so good at it. You will be thoroughly impressed. And I think we need to talk like that even more. I think we need to talk about the things we're good at. We're so quick to talk about the things we're no good at. Oh, I suck at this. And people are comfortable in listening. Oh, yeah, you poor thing. Yeah, you're probably right. But what about the things we're good at? What about the things that we're amazing at? Why can't we say that too? And I think that's something that we, as a spiritual community, should be the leaders of, to start talking about the things we're good at. And that will encourage other people to go, actually, I'm damn good at this thing. And we can acknowledge that and not think, okay, you're so full of yourself. All right, now, this is what we're going to do. I have paired everybody. Actually, let's do this. I want you to take a couple of minutes now, grab your pen and some paper, and I want you to write a question down, a question that you have for somebody who's going to read you. The question, please don't make it read me, or please don't make the question, tell me something I need to know. Please don't do that. Be specific. Specific, like, I am currently not enjoying my work. What should I do? Something specific. Ask a question that you want to know. So I'll give you a couple of moments. Write your question down. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you who you are reading for. Sarah, there's only one Sarah. You're reading for Marybeth. So there's Marybeth and there's Meredith. So I'm not talking about Meredith, I'm talking about Marybeth. Sarah, you're reading for Marybeth. Marybeth Lyons, you're reading for Sarah. Okay. Sarah, can you please unmute yourself as well? You too, Marybeth, please, and read your question. So Sarah, I want you to read your question to Marybeth, and Marybeth, I want you to write the question down.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I honestly haven't even thought of my question. I've been sitting here racking my brains.
Or Marybeth, do you want to, can you unmute yourself? Where is she? I don't know why I can't unmute you. Hang on. Are you there? She's not here. Where are you, Marybeth? Let me just check to see whether she's had some issues and she's messaged me, and I'll be 2 seconds, guys. Ah. All right. Sarah, just give me a moment. Okay. Ali, you are reading for Dina. Ali, can you unmute yourself and tell Dina your question? We can get through this as quick as we possibly can. Ali? Ali. Where is she? Why is this harder than anticipated? All right. Yeah, okay. I'm aborting this mission. We're going to do something else. Well, not something else. We're just going to do it in a different way. I didn't want it to be this way, but it's going to be, because apparently, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so Sarah. Oh, hang on. Why? I just don't understand. Just the difficulty.
Chickens are probably gonna die
Before
now.
you start, what is a good question to ask? Like, I always struggle to ask a question, like, especially in a reading.
What do you want to know?
I don't know. That's what I don't know. Like, I just feel like,
Okay, so let's do
But
that. We will. What we're going to do, because for whatever reason I can't quite get everybody to unmute themselves and talk. I don't even know if Ali's on. Ali, are you
Okay, I'm
on?
unmuted.
Ali?
I think Ellie's nada. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, that's me.
Oh, hi, sweetheart. Okay.
Sorry,
That's
I'm doing
good.
a few things at once. I'm not ready to do this exercise. Is that okay if you skip past me?
That's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
No, you're fine. Let me just remove your name off the thing. Okay. All right. So Sarah.
Yes, and I am ready.
So Ali was 2. Okay, let's do this. Sarah, you're reading for Linda. Don't worry about questions. You're just going to channel whatever is relevant for this person. So Sarah, you're reading for Linda Fabiano. Linda, you're reading for Sarah. So Linda, can you unmute yourself and just say hi so Sarah can see you? So this is Sarah, but I want you to say hello if you can, Linda.
Hello, Sarah. Hi.
Hi.
All right, so you're reading for each other. Christine, you're reading for Meredith. So Christine Cleaver, can you unmute yourself and say hi so Meredith can see you?
Yes. Hi, Meredith. I'm Christine.
And Meredith, if you can just say hi. If you don't want to take the video off.
No,
you can
I'm
just-
here. I'm here.
Right.
Hello.
Beautiful. Okay. Lisa, if you can, you're reading for Danielle. Lisa, if you can say hello. Lisa? Where is she? Dear me. All right, Jessica, you're reading for Danielle. Jessica, if you can say hello.
there
Jessica?
we go. Hi, Danielle.
Danielle, can you say hi?
Sorry, we have crazy neighbors.
Danielle?
Danielle's sitting right next to me.
Oh, hi.
Can you hear me now? Or?
Jessica, you're reading for Danielle.
Okay.
All right.
We'll just check.
Okay. Amy, where are we here? Amy, you're reading for Vanessa. Amy, can you unmute yourself? And Vanessa, can you unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi, Amy. I'm Vanessa.
Hi.
All right. Is Nancy on? I don't know what's happened. Why is everybody spontaneously combusted? Oh, no, Nancy's here. Nancy, you're
Here I
reading for
am.
Debbie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Debbie?
Hi, Debbie.
Hello.
Are we both invisible?
It's fine. So it's a good match. Okay. So Nancy, if you can just say to just something little so that Debbie can hear your voice a bit.
Please don't be offended by my New York accent. I think I'm the only one.
All right, Debbie, if you can just say a little bit about yourself, just anything, so Nancy can hear you.
Hi, I'm from Tampa, Florida, and I like to shop.
Nice one. All right. So now, if Dina, you're reading for Susan. Dina, if you could unmute yourself, and Susan, if you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Dina. I'm Susan. I live in the North Georgia mountains.
Susan? Where's Susan?
That was me. Hi.
Oh, that was you. Sorry, Dina. Dina, are you on? Why? Why? That's okay. All right. So Susan. No.
Yes.
Susan, you're going to read for Natalia. Natalia, are you on?
Hi, I'm Natalia, and I can try. I just feel that this month I'm jumping from lower to higher vibrations.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if the reading will be accurate.
Everybody's feeling the same thing. Everybody's like, oh my God, she's going to make us read. Everybody's in the same position. So Susan, you're reading for Natalia. Natalia, you're reading for Susan.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
I knew that already.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, it's going to be good. Now, is there somebody on that hasn't received a person that you're reading for? Please unmute yourself and say, Addie, you forgot about me. Nope. Good. Excellent. I don't know what's happened to everybody else. I can't figure it out now. It's fine. I've looked. There's no messages. We're all good. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch off my video. I want you to switch off your video as well. And I want you to get into a comfortable position with easy access to pen and paper for when I say to you, it's time to read or it's time to write something down. You can easily, you don't have to get up and you don't have to like, see if you can do this exercise in a seated position. So get yourself comfortable in a seated position, a relaxed seated position. And I will begin the exercise to get you into a channeling state in order to be able to receive what we were going to do. We were going to get everybody to ask a question, but you don't always need to have a question. Some people don't. Often people will say to me, just tell me, Addie, what you're getting, and I'll just start that way. So what I want you to do when we do get into a channeling state, and it is time for you to write whatever comes to you, I want you just don't edit yourself. Don't worry, oh, this might be wrong or whatever. Don't worry about all of that. Write whatever comes to mind. Sit in your body, sit in your physical self and look at all the different senses. Can you see something? Can you hear something? Can you smell something? Can you taste something? Do you get a random name out of nowhere? No matter what it is, write it down. Do not censor yourself. Do not worry if you're getting it right or worry if you're getting it wrong. Don't worry about any of that. Worrying about that drops your vibration and disconnects you. Just write what comes to you. So the question is going to be, what does the person you're reading for need to know for right now? What does the person you're reading for need to know for right now? Also, if you noticed some loved ones, jot it down. I feel like I've heard this name. I feel like I saw this person. I feel like your dad, your grandma, your whatever. Write it down. I feel like I saw a person of this age. Write it down. Whatever comes to you, don't worry about if you're getting it wrong. You will get some things wrong. It doesn't matter. That's not the point of the exercise. So I will shut up. You can get it comfortable, get your pen and paper, make sure it works, and we will get into it. Let's begin by taking just a few deep breaths. Just breathing in gently and breathing out gently. Before we get right into it, if anybody's having any issues hearing me, now is the time to tell me. Because you don't want to be going through this and go, oh, what is she saying? All right. Simply notice as you breathe in. Just notice as you're breathing in and notice as you're breathing out. Now become aware of the room around you. Become aware of your body. Become aware of the space in front of you. Become aware of the space behind you. Become aware of the space below you. And become aware of the space above you. Shift your awareness now to the space your body's sitting on. What's your body touching? Can you feel the seat? The floor beneath your feet? What are your arms touching? What are your hands touching? Become aware of that space now. I want you to begin to notice some of the tension in your body, particularly around your eyes and your mouth. As you begin to become aware of the tension in your body, allow those muscles to become heavy, softer, and smoother, like a handful of loose rubber bands. Bring your awareness to the muscles of your scalp and your neck. Imagine those muscles now completely relaxing like a handful of loose rubber bands. Move that relaxation now to your shoulders and your chest. Relax your shoulders and your chest. Move that relaxation down to your arms and your hands and your fingertips. Your muscles are completely loose, limp, and completely relaxed. Bring that relaxation down into your chest and your stomach. Completely relax those muscles. That relaxation now comes down to your back, all the way to your hips. All those muscles are completely relaxed and smooth and limp. That relaxation now moves down into your hips and your thighs, completely relaxed like a handful of loose rubber bands. That relaxation now moves down to your knees and your calves and your ankles and your feet. Every single muscle in your body is completely relaxed. Now, as you have relaxed your body and your mind, we're going to begin to expand your awareness and harmonize with the natural power of all that is. Bring your awareness to your heart. I want you to become aware of a pure white disc of light. It's about the size of a small coin. Allow yourself to call this your center of power. This is the part of you that contains a spark of life, the divine spark of your spirit housed within your soul. This is also where your higher mind sits. It is not outside of you. It is housed within you. I want you to take a very deep breath in. And as you take a deep breath in, I want you to imagine that there is a balloon, a deflated balloon, just sitting just below your navel. And as you breathe in, that deflated balloon opens up completely and fills up your cavity next to your hips. And as you breathe in, it inflates. And as you breathe out, it deflates. Breathing in, completely inflating that balloon. And breathing out. You are a beautiful being of light. As you breathe in, you now imagine that disc of light beginning to expand. It expands and fills up the cavity of your chest. That beautiful disc of light now moves to the upper arms and your shoulders and down to your fingertips. You let that disc of light grow until it has come down to your legs, to your ankles, to your feet. Each breath in and out, that disc of light completely engulfs your body with pure white light. It is in every single cell in your body. Every organ is now flooded with this pure white light. That pure white light has completely enveloped you. Even your hair and your fingernails and your toenails are completely engulfed in this white light. Begin to become aware that this light intensifies so much that it begins to penetrate out of your skin and into your aura. It intensifies even more so that it completely fills the room up. You and the room are completely engulfed in this beautiful white light. As you breathe in, let it expand until it penetrates the room and into the entire building. As you breathe in, that light expands into your suburb, into your city or town. With each breath in and out, that light intensifies until it has engulfed your entire country. With the next breath in, that light that started off in your heart center has now completely engulfed the entire planet. You are at the center of this light that has now illuminated the entire earth. You are powerful. You are beautiful. You cannot tell the difference between where you begin and the light begins and where the planet ends. You are completely one with all things. This light has completely penetrated the trees and the animals. It has gone right down into the soil of the earth, and you are completely one with all things. Bring your awareness back to the room you are in. This white light is still all over the earth, but your focus is back into the room, back into your body. You are sitting there, almighty, all powerful, connected with all things. You recognize that the divine spark that connects you to life connects you to all things, all people, all cells, all plants, all animals. This is the divine light of your soul, and it is the same light that is housed within all that is. Take some time to sit in the light. Take some time to sit in the power and the love of your soul. Take some time to be one with all things. As you continue to sit in your own light, in your own power, you begin to become aware of a greater light, a greater power that seems to transcend this space and time. You become aware of this light as you begin to transcend your awareness out of the earth dimension, known as the third dimension. The third dimension is a dimension of time and space. You transcend your awareness higher into the fourth dimension, the dimension of spirit. The fourth dimension is a dimension of timelessness. One breath at a time, begin to blend with the greater awareness. One breath at a time, begin to merge your loving power with the loving power of the fourth dimension. You notice as you merge your light with the light of the spirit realm that you begin to feel so sure of who you are. You begin to feel lovingly welcomed and embraced. You begin to realize that any idea that held you disconnected from spirit has completely vanished. In this dimension, you are known, you are appreciated, you are celebrated and encouraged. You begin to feel, as your divine spark merges with all the power of the fourth dimension, that they have been eagerly awaiting your connection, patiently, lovingly awaiting your connection, knowing that you have a loving mission to bring the love and guidance of the fourth dimension into the hearts and lives of all those on earth. For they know that all of those that are in the fourth dimension, in the spirit realm, are never disconnected from anyone or anything. One deep breath at a time, blending with the brighter light of the spirit realm. One breath at a time, becoming more and more aware of your power. And as you blend your own light with the light of the spirit realm, you notice that your light begins to burn brighter and intensify. Feel the power, feel the presence, feel the unconditional love of spirit. Love with no conditions. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved and welcomed exactly as you are. You do not need to change a single thing, a single hair on your head, a single thing from your past. You are perfect. You are perfect. No need to change a thing. One breath at a time, as you merge with the light of spirit, you begin to notice that the light of the spirit realm merges completely with your light. You are literally one. You recognize from within that this is the same light the exact same light that was within you just moments ago. You are spirit from the fourth dimension, and these higher dimensions that is projecting light into the third dimension, the dimension of earth, having a human experience. The spirit realm is your eternal home. So take a bit of time to sit in this light, in this love, in this power, and spend a bit of time being blended with spirit, the broader part of you. There is no time wasted when you are spending time with spirit. As you're enjoying your time with spirit, as a human, we want to rely on our vision. In the spirit realm, we view things with all our senses. Sit in the spirit realm, and you do not need to look with your eyes, but rather feel with all your senses. Be in the spirit realm and use all your senses. You begin to become aware that there are others who are doing this exercise with you, who have also expanded their divine spark to cover the earth and connect to the spirit realm. You begin to notice that their light is overlapping yours, merging with yours, becoming one with your light. Their powers illuminate your power. Their power looks and feels like your power. You recognize them. You recognize the love within them as the exact same love that is within you. Spirit is aware that you have expanded your awareness into this spirit realm to bring forward information that the spirit realm knows will be helpful to another person. Think now of the person you are reading for. Spirit has lovingly gathered all the useful, loving, guiding information that will assist that person. You now become aware of your physical body again. You become alert and aware of the room you are in, still connected to the eternal spirit realm. You become aware of your body and your pen and paper in front of you. You are connected. You are alert. You begin to notice loved ones that have gathered for that person that you are reading for, and you effortlessly begin to describe those people and write down any messages they have, any names, any descriptions. Anything that enters your mind is perfect for right now. Do not put any pressure on yourself for that information that you are receiving right at this very moment. It is absolutely perfect. Begin to write your channeled information. Now that you are connected to the spirit realm, if you feel like you have communicated all things that you feel are necessary for the person you are reading for, you may take the time to get another piece of paper and ask spirit, ask your guides and your loved ones a question. That question can simply be, what do I need to know right now? Take some time now to ask a question for yourself. When you are ready, you can put your pen down and you can shake your body around a little bit if you're in still a bit of a trance-like state, or you can continue writing if that's what you wish. When you're ready, turn your cameras back on. Those of you that are using cameras.
Oh, excuse me.
All right. Now, what we're going to do when we all finish and the class ends, those of you who are not part of the psychic development group, I've got a group just for those who have done the class. I'm going to send you a link so you can join that group. And what I would like you to do, each of you, put a photo up of yourself. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be new. It can just be a photo of yourself that you like. It can be from whenever, it doesn't really matter. I want you to go and find the person you read for and either take a photo of what you've written or you can type it out. It doesn't really matter. And I want you to put it in the comments section. We won't go through everybody's messages right now. Some of you will have written more than others. It's okay. Whatever you have is where you're at, and it is perfect for right now. So don't sort of think somebody wrote a whole page and I've only written 5 lines. It's irrelevant. Does anybody have something that they would like to share? If you do, feel free to unmute yourself, a question or anything. Okay, so what I'd like to encourage you, if you would like to develop this even more I'm going to be creating a very short version. Body jolts. Vanessa saying, I keep getting body jolts. Very, 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 very common. And I'm glad you brought that up. What happens is if your body is not used to tuning into the spirit realm, your physical body is unused to that frequency. And you will find yourself twitching or jolting, shaking, rocking back and forth. It's not an uncomfortable feeling. It's just an unusual feeling. The more you become familiar with that feeling, your physical body won't respond with those twitches or those jolts or the shaking or even the rocking back and forth. The higher the dimensions or the higher the being that you connect with, the more your physical body will react to that. Amy said, I'm the same as Vanessa. Hands felt like a constant electric shock. Excellent. Especially if you haven't done this sort of channeling before, you will have a physical reaction. You guys were, Amy and Vanessa were partnered. Interesting, you guys. Nice. Some of you may say, I kind of felt like I saw the person I was reading for in the spirit realm. You will find that as well. Some will actually feel that person there. I want you to understand that you never actually leave the spirit realm. You are always in the spirit realm. You're just projecting your consciousness into the third dimension to have that human experience. So there's always a part of you in that fourth dimension. There's a part of you in all dimensions, and there's lots of them, but 9, if we're going to break them down. We won't get into all of that today. I want to encourage you within this group, now that there are more people within the group, if you have a question, it's a closed group, it's a private group. If you have a question, put a photo of yourself up and ask the question. If you see somebody else's photo, don't worry about whether you're going to get it right or wrong. Be very respectful, but also give it a go. You might be surprised how accurate you are. Nancy said, I became very nauseous and distracted by discomfort. You can feel nausea. Yep. Your especially if you've not been well, especially if you've been low or depressed, and then all of a sudden you've transcended from that low vibration into the high vibration, it will make you feel, it can make you feel nauseous. I've actually had a few people say that, when I'm in the presence of spirit, I feel nauseous. It's just an indicator that you don't do it enough, that your vibration has been low for a little while. And when your vibration's been low for a little while, you need to look at what your belief systems are around the reasons why you're feeling that way. So say you're feeling depressed. You can say, I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling depressed. And then truthfully tell yourself why you're depressed. And you might say, I'm depressed because my boyfriend left me. No, that's not actually why you're depressed. You're depressed because this relationship has come to an end. And it may just be that you think to yourself that I will never find another person because I'm unlovable. That would be the feelings of depression. That's where it comes from. The fear of what this situation means for you. You have a belief system attached to it. Somebody who has the belief system of the right person will come to me, who will break up with somebody, will go through a grieving period for sure, but then there's still a part of them that won't allow them to fall into the depths of depression because they have the belief system of, I trust that wasn't the person for me and somebody else is. So whatever you're feeling, ask yourself, I am feeling depressed. I am feeling depressed because, and then ask yourself very truthfully, why? And an exercise, a very revealing kind of exposing exercise to do is stand in front of the mirror and ask yourself. You can just stand and look at yourself and go, Addie, why are you depressed? And then answer yourself. And it's kind of exposing because you're looking at yourself, so you can't lie to yourself. That's what I thought. I feel like there was movement in some of the blues. Yeah. This is another important thing. This is why meditation or any sort of trance-like exercise, whether you're doing it right or not, whatever that means, any alleviation from that lower vibration, especially if you've been depressed long term, any opportunity you have to feel higher vibrational feelings, whether that's just watching a movie where you've laughed a little bit, it releases the resistance enough for your guides or for your loved ones or for your higher self to send you some bit of information, whether you perceive it in that moment or not, that will shift the circumstances for you. The best thing you can do when you're depressed is look for the feelings of relief. Now, the feelings of relief don't come from alcohol or drugs. They are masking a feeling. We're talking about true, genuine feelings of relief, moments of laughter, moments of joy, moments of being in the moment, being with someone where it's not socially acceptable to be depressed. And so you have to shift yourself out of that depressed state to feel okay in the moment. That releases resistance enough for spirit to get in there and move things about for you, change some things, give you some ideas, give you some bright ideas that you'll perceive, maybe not in that moment, maybe not even in the next day, but things will shift. So it's important, if you're feeling depressed, to find moments to do a little bit of meditation. Nancy says, I do actually feel some sort of release. It's brilliant. Be true to yourself. Be honest with yourself. I just need to mention that because someone has reached, hang on, sorry guys, I'm just going to get into the chat if I can find it. Chat. Okay. Natalia says, I just need to mention this because someone was reaching me all our session, just if this resonates with someone. Okay. When we had just started the workshop, the gray-haired lady of about 70 years old called herself Annie, and she was wearing a blue-gray dress with white flowers and sitting on an old bench, and she wanted to see her daughter or girl. And when I asked the name, she said bingo, as in Annie. Okay, does that resonate with anybody? A lady with gray hair in about her 70s who called herself Annie, and she was wearing a blue-gray dress with white flowers sitting on an old bench, and she wanted to see her girl. When I asked what I needed to know, all I could see was a girl in a long satin dress or gown. So this is from Jessica. When I asked what I needed to know, okay, so Susan Crocker says, wow, yes, Aunt Anne. Oh, there you go. That's beautiful. When I asked what I needed to know, all I could see was a girl in a long satin dress or gown with short hair, and she was lounging on a chair in front of a cheaper metal blinds kind of silhouette against it. It doesn't make sense to me, so I thought I would share share. Okay. So it was a girl in a long satin dress or gown with short hair, and she was lounging on a chair in front of a cheaper metal blinds kind of silhouette against it. Does that sound familiar to anyone? It might have been, sometimes you'll get information for the person you are reading for before you intend to read for them. This happens to me a lot. Not a lot, it happens often enough where I'm reading for someone and I'll start hearing somebody, I'll be like, who's David? Who's David? Who's David? Who's David? And they're like, I don't know what David. And then the next person I'm reading for says, David was my whatever, brother or whatever. So sometimes you can get information for the person you are reading for in advance before you have that clear intention, because spirit knows the minute you are in a vibration high enough, it will just start sending information instantly because it's already been sent to you. It's just a matter of you preparing yourself and recognizing it. Nancy also said, Anne or Annie is significant for me amongst other things. My middle name, saw my papa kind of drift by my mind's eye. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. If you have questions, please put them in the group, whether the questions are for me. Do put your questions about channeling and psychic stuff in the group, so that way I can reply to it in the group, and that others that have had that question and have forgotten it, or, oh yeah, that's a really good question, I think I could learn something from that, we can have that interaction. I would encourage you to, once we have, so I'll recap what I said. Once we finish, I'm going to invite those that aren't already in the group into the group. It's a separate group. It's a private group. No one can see who's in the group or what their questions are or anything. It's all just us. Put a photo of yourself up. Natalie. Susan Crocker says, Natalie, Daddy loves you. Aww. You guys. So put a photo of yourself up. Find the person you are reading for and give them their message. Either take a photo of it, and yeah, take a photo of it, type it out, whatever you want to do. Also, if you have a question that you formulated after this and you think, oh yeah, I'd really like to know about, I don't know, moving houses or whatever it is, put up that question and allow any one of us, even me, if I'm drawn to you, to go and answer it if you have a question. I also have another group called Psychic and Mediumship something. I can't remember what it's called. It's got about 10,000 people in it. Practice in that group too. Go in that group. There are questions being asked all the time. The more you practice, the more you give yourself the opportunity to channel. It doesn't have to be a big, long message. It can be a small, short message. The more you give yourself the opportunity to channel, the better you will get, the more familiar you get, the clearer you get, the more information you will receive. It's so important. It is just like any other practice where you start acquiring muscle memory and you start acquiring, you know, the neural pathways in your brain start connecting in a different way. When I started reading to now, if some of you have been following me for a few years, and you'll notice that I started off okay, and now have gotten to the point where I'm talking about names and I'm talking about details, and you just get better and better and better and better and better because you practice it more. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. Hearing the word no can be scary sometimes. Be okay with hearing no. I do not get anything 100% correct, ever. There are some readings that are more accurate than others, and I have learned to be okay with that. And in learning to be okay with that, you will actually become better and better. You can hear no. It's okay. It's okay to hear no, you got that wrong. It's okay. That's the group. Vanessa's put a link to the Facebook group in there. I'll put it in the comments, in the not comments, in the group chat. If you're not part of the group chat, just reach out to me, and I can send you a link. So the two groups that I want you to join is the private group and also the public group, which has got about 10,000 people. There are all, oh God, there's like mice on my roof or something. There are all sorts of individuals in that group. Some of them are, I try to weed it out as much as possible, but you know, it's Facebook land. So if you guys could get in there and give them a much more clearer, at least spiritually accurate reading, not necessarily accurate in details, but not hinder them by saying silly things like, I don't know, just I've heard some things in my time, things that'll make your hair stand on end, of people giving other people readings where you go, you are so disruptive and destructive right now. So practice. I cannot stress this enough. The more you practice, the better you get at it. And I'm living proof of that. I was okay, and I've gotten better and better and better to the point where now I feel like, you know, I'm happy and content with where I'm at. Can I do more? Yeah. There are heaps more psychic people than I am, but you just got to practice it, and be okay with hearing no, you got that completely wrong. And that's okay. And that's okay. All right. So we have come to the end of our time together. I know for some of you that are on the other side of the world, it's, you know, 10 o'clock in the evening, maybe even a little bit later for some of you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share this information with you. Information used is useful. Information known but not used is just knowledge. And use it. Use it and you will see the benefits of it in your life. It can and does and will change your life. Again, if you've got any questions, put it in the group and I will answer them. And also ask a question in there. If you've come across something in your life where you're like, gosh, I need some guidance, ask your question in there and allow any one of us that are in there to go in and give you some insight. Have a wonderful day if you're over in the Southern Hemisphere, and have a wonderful evening if you're over in the Northern Hemisphere. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. Bye.